Welcome to Oliver Rain Knits. My name is Tracey and this is episode 2. Today I'm filming in Fernie, British Columbia, Canada. I look forward to taking you on a small tour of my home and the community where it's situated in a little bit, but first let's talk about knitting. The first item I will talk about is this pullover that I'm wearing. It is the Rainier sweater by Kate Gagnon Osborne, tripping over that pronunciation there, so I apologize. It is a colorwork pullover, and the original pattern was knit with a turtleneck, but I decided to make it a crew neck instead and just added the ribbing. The yarn that I'm using is Kelborn Woolen Scout. I won it as a kit by the Grocery Girls. Several years ago, Espace Tricot commissioned Diana Wallen, a well-known colorwork designer, to design 3 garments using Kelborn Woolen Scout. I received the wool for one of the patterns, a poncho style capelet, and it just wasn't something that I was really into wearing. Maybe now I am, who knows. But the yarn was so beautiful and the colors played so well together that I found another pattern to make the yarn into. So this is my pullover. I just think it's so pretty. The little pop of coral along with the cream and the charcoal heather just is so nice. The second thing that I've been wearing a lot, and I will say that none of these items are recently finished. I've made them all within the last few years. This shawl, and I usually wear it as a scarf under my coat, and I just adore this. The pattern is the Stoker shawl by Kristen Lair of Villenvine Yarns. Kristen is an independent yarn dyer in New York, and she has a YouTube channel as well, so please go check her out. She has amazing Gothic style, very inspired by Edwardian and Victorian literature and fashion, and this shawl is actually inspired by the bodice of Victorian dresses. So there are a row of bobbles and eyelets going down the front to mimic the look of the bodice of a Victorian gown. There's this pretty lace and texture detail on the edge, and then these tassels. I was debating whether tassels or the baubles were my favorite part, but I think it's the tassels. There are 3, and I think wearing this in the front with the tassels sort of tied and arranged looks really pretty with my coat. The yarn that I used is from a dyer based in Calgary. She's the Fiber Goddess, and this is their Downy Decay. I used 3 skeins of the Downy, and the color is the Depths of Despair. And I really think that the yarn name and color fit very well with the Gothic aesthetic of Kristen's design. The very last thing I would like to talk about in terms of finished objects, again, these are not nearly finished. I think I've finished the last year. are another pair of mittens. It is very cold and snowy in these parts these days, so I am enjoying all the knitwear all the time. Pulling out all the wooliest of the woolies. I'm not hating it at all. On any given day, I'm probably wearing between 3 and 7 knitted garments, and maybe a little more if you consider a pair of mittens and socks. 2 instead of 1. Anyway, these are my mittens. These are the Selbu Mittens by Rainier Knits. Ellie of Rainier Knits is a Norwegian designer based in the UK, specifically London, I believe, and she designed these as a beginner mitten pattern. Selbu Mittens originated in Selbu, Norway, and I think that they've become a real symbol of a style in Norway knitwear design. They have a different pattern on the front and the back, and I think a lot of the garments based on Selbu Mittens have this detail right here, this sort of rose star shape. There's a specific name, and I will put it on the screen because I'm not even going to try pronouncing the name. They're very, very woolly. They are perfectly sturdy. There's a little bit of pilling. A lot of my things, because they're not new, have a little bit of pilling on them right now. The yarn I used are from Roma, and it's a 3-ply strick yarn. Again, pronunciation is not my forte. 100% Norwegian wool, DK weight, and I really, really love them. So look at this, I'm all gray. I love these colors. All right, enough of finished objects. There are a couple of things I am working on still, and they both are things that I talked about in my last episode. So this is the progress I've made on my Soldatna. I think, yeah, that is the front of it. So I absolutely love the way this is turning out. The fit, I'm not 100% convinced is right at this point, but I've taken it, I think, as far as I can without aggressively blocking it. It is quite snug. I made size 3 and I used bigger needles, but I still think it's coming out rather small and a little bit tight. So if I aggressively block it, I'm going to see if I need to make it longer. I've added an extra, 5 repeats to the bottom, and I may add a few more, but I also want to see if I increase the width a bit, how much more I need to increase the length by. There is an additional little element before you start the ribbing, so I will probably add a few inches with that. The other thing is the sleeve. Caitlin Hunter designed this pattern to be a short sleeve sweater, but I'm thinking I might do elbow length or bracelet length sleeves. The question I have, and I'm hoping that you can help me decide, is whether I use these little stitches on the sleeves as well as the body. So if you look a little closer, they're sort of, I think they're called flea stitches. So they're double color, so the red on top and the yellow on the bottom. And I just think it's pretty detail. So I could do solid sleeves because I've got enough yarn, enough of the green yarn, or I could do the flea stitches. I'm sort of leaning towards doing the fleas, although it's a little more work, but I think it will just add a nice element to the sweater. That is my Soldatna. I forgot to tell you the colors of the yarn last time I was filming. They have kind of neat colors. The red is called Red Pool. The green is called Star Force. The speckled, oh, where did my little tag go? The speckled is called Vendetta, and I can't find the tag for the yellow, but I believe it's Hypnosis. If it is different, I will link it below. But I just think they're so fun. I love the names that they've chosen. I will keep you posted about what I decide on the sleeves, but please, I'm open to advice as well. The other thing that I am working on is my mother sweater. I have made my peace with the fact that I will be keeping my ranunculus. The story that I have that goes along with the yarn is just so special, and it's special to me. I'll never be able to buy that yarn and have exactly the same experience as meeting Anna and being with those specific people at the Fiber Frolic. So I think that it just has to stay with me. It's meant to be. So I still have the question of what to do about my mother's Christmas sweater. I'm not sure why I'm having so much trouble. Actually, I kind of do. It seems whenever I do something out of obligation, I lose a little bit of the joy of the process. I am happy to make this sweater for my mother, but I think my biggest mistake was telling her I was making it, because now there is the expectation that she will get a sweater. I know that she would be happy if I gave her something else, but the pressure is on me to give her a garment that she loves because I've given it to her, but also a sweater that she loves just because it's a beautiful sweater. So where am I at now with my mother's sweater? Well, I cast on something new. We'll see if it's going to work. The pattern that I'm going to use is the Felix cardigan. Actually, no. The Felix pullover by Amy Christophers of Savory Knitting. So I think that this is a fairly popular pattern. It is a pullover sweater with a beautiful eyelet detail on the raglans. The yarn that I'm using is Woolfolk Bar that I purchased at my local yarn store, and it's in this beautiful teal blue color. I'm not sure if it is 100% my mother's color, but I think that it will work. At this point, I'm running out of time, and I know that the Felix sweater is a fairly quick knit. I had tried another pattern called Knus, K-N-U-S, but the texture involved a lot of knit purls, and I wasn't enjoying that at all. I think this sweater is going to be nice. I'll keep you posted about what turns out, finished objects and the like, but yeah, that's what I'm planning to work on now. I'm all tangled up with my Saldana, so forgive me. I just want to talk about something else too, obligation knitting. That is something that I really struggle with. I have tried selling things in the past, but I've always gotten to a point where I'm just not enjoying the process of making. I also have a tendency to sign up for test knits. I see a beautiful sweater or hat or a pair of mittens on Instagram asking for test knitters, and I'm there. However, as soon as I get the pressure to finish a certain object in a certain time frame, I lose a little bit of my enjoyment. I've made my good friend Leanne promise not to let me do any more test knits, and now all of you have to hold me that as well. I also want to talk about my friend Leanne. She is the host of The Knitty Stew here on YouTube. Late last spring, I was seeking my knitting community, and I stumbled upon Leanne's channel, and by the third episode, I was utterly smitten. I declared her to be my knitting BFF, and we've since met in person, and I can tell you she is as lovely in person as she is on her videos. She is so charming and has such a great, warm personality. She is a flight attendant, and on some of her longer layovers, she likes to take us on an adventure around the cities that she visits, as well as occasional visits to some yarn stores. And then she talks about her knitting. She is absolutely as passionate about yarn and as knitting as I am, and we have some really great conversations. So please go and check out Leanne. She is the person that encouraged me to start this channel, and I just adore her, and I think you all will as well. Okay, now that I have talked about my knitting and raved about my good friend Leanne, Now I'd like to take you on a little tour of my condo and Fernie, the community where it's located. We have a really unique condo. It is located near downtown Fernie, and it is a renovated school building. The entire building was redeveloped into condos, and some additional structures were built to house some townhomes, and I think that the original shop was renovated into townhomes as well. The entire development occupies one full city block here in Fernie, and the building that we have our condo in is the actual school. It retains a lot of the charm of the school building. We have beautiful exposed brick walls and big windows and lots of space, very high ceilings. Our ceilings are 14 feet tall. And one funny thing about the condo that we occupy is that I believe our living room was either the science or the English room. And although I didn't grow up here, some of my family members did, and they remember either skipping class or being kicked out of class out of my living room. So we really enjoy that little bit of history that we occupy here in Fernie. And now let's have a little bit of a tour. Fernie is a town in the southeast corner of British Columbia, nestled in the Rocky Mountains, and it is charming. It is actually incorporated as a city with just over 5,000 permanent residents. However, that population does increase dramatically in the winter months, as Fernie is a well-known skiing destination, world-class skiing on the resort, as well as cat skiing, snowmobiling, snowshoeing, ice skating, winter mountain biking. There are so many winter sports that people enjoy here. It is a four-season destination, however, and it's also a place where people enjoy hiking, fly fishing, water rafting, and many other activities. There are incredible restaurants here. We have one that we really enjoy and that has the most amazing margaritas. We have to go there pretty much every time we come down. Fernie is also home to amazing artisans, from painters to photographers. We have a local kombucha maker that makes the most amazing kombucha. There's a really beautiful museum here in Fernie that highlights Fernie's history as a coal mining town. Coal mining remains a source of income for many people living in the area, as well, and of course tourism. There are many shops and many art galleries, probably 4 or 5 here, that sell a lot of locally produced arts and crafts There's some beautiful boutiques selling clothing and housewares, and I think that Fernie really has a lot to offer. Every day we start our day by visiting one of our favorite dog parks in the entire world. Having dogs, we take a lot of road trips and we are familiar with a lot of dog parks, and this is probably one of the most beautiful. So let's go check that out. By now you might be saying, gee, Tracey, Fernie sounds pretty amazing, pretty charming, but what about a yarn store? Well, that's a very good question. Any perfect community, to me, does have a yarn store. Now, Fernie doesn't have a dedicated store for yarn, but it does have a beautiful fiber studio called the Eye of the Needle, and I'm going to take you on a little visit there. They do sell some local yarns as well as some imported from Italy. Their focus is on needle felting, and I can't wait to show you. Come along. I really hope that you enjoyed this little introduction to Fernie and also hearing about my finished objects and my current works in progress. I hope next time to have a finished mother sweater for you. I hadn't planned on filming again quite so quickly after my last episode, but honestly it was so much fun, and when I realized I was going to be in Fernie for a few extra days, I couldn't resist adding another episode. I do plan to release one more episode prior to Christmas, and I hope you will come back for a visit. I really appreciate anybody who has watched my video and subscribed. Please continue to like and subscribe if you want to see more content. Thank you so much for watching, and happy making.